Gosh.
Hello.
I was
You're
just,
earlier than I thought you would be. I just thought, oh, I better hop onto Instagram.
oh,
Ah, she's
I'm
on.
sorry. I thought you said 10 too, so I was,
No,
so,
2 minutes to.
oh,
It's all good. I'm so
oh,
sorry. You've been talking by yourself the whole
I've just
time.
been babbling on about astrology.
I'm excited for this.
Yes. Well, the few times I've had a chance to talk to Glenys, I've been enthralled with what she had to say
Mm,
because she has, um, she's so knowledgeable, but also just I had no idea really how helpful astrology could be, knowing more about our charts and our moon and our sun and all the different planets. So it's going to be really interesting.
it is. It's so much more than just reading a little paragraph in the daily news. It's so much more involved with that than that. And getting your chart done is where the magic lies, I think, for sure.
Yes, yes. And the
Mm.
good thing is you don't have to know the exact time of your birth as long as you know your place and day of your
Yeah,
birth. Yeah.
yeah. Glenys is she's clever. She can work with that,
Mm.
so that's quite exciting. I know Alexis doesn't know the exact time of her birth, so she worked with Glenys with that and got it all
Actually,
sorted. So,
I just remembered something that I learned many years ago through a friend who was into astrology. If something happened and or a question came to you, this is an example. I remember being with him and asked him a question. I wonder what's going to happen about such and such, or was it something that happened? And I asked, what's going to happen now? He did a reading, a chart based on that at that moment with that information.
yeah.
And that's right. My car was stolen. I remember saying, and he did a quick calculation. He said it's going to be found in X number of days, and it was.
Are
I
you
remember
kidding?
that now. It's a particular kind of astrology that you can actually.
Predict.
I must ask Glenys about. Yes, you could because of what was going on,
Sure.
and it was eerie.
Wow.
That
I'm glad your car was found.
yes, yeah.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that's probably about 30 plus years ago. It was in Sydney and Darlinghurst, so it was close to King's Cross, so it wasn't exactly a great area, but anyway, it was found and it was fine. So
It was a fun area back then.
it was lots of activity. I must keep an eye out for Glenys, although she will be joining us, I think, in a few minutes.
Yes, yes. Hopefully she can hop on soon. Yeah, because like us, well, we've got some practice up our sleeves now, but Glenys is very new to the whole Instagram live thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to joining and waiting and all that
yeah.
sort of thing. So
Hey,
yeah.
but when did you first get interested in astrology?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, we used to get these girls' annuals, and it was a book. I forget the name. Bunty was one of them, I think. This is in England, and it was just a big book full of. There was a comic section, and there was a bit of cooking in it, recipes, and all sorts of things that would be, for young girls in the 1970s. And there was something about your stars. And I remember reading Sagittarius and saying, you're a spendthrift. And how's that for programming? Because I looked at it and went, what's the spendthrift? And then I asked Dad, and he said, that's someone who's not very good with money and who just spends their money all the time. And I was like, oh. Hmm. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Being told I was a spendthrift or being a Sagittarian and
Yeah.
being a spendthrift, right? But anyway, I have pulled my head in since then. But following that, that sort of interested me in what it just looked really mysterious, and the symbols and the signs and all of that sort of stuff. So I would have been about 9 years old when I read that. So really, really young, like 9, 10 years old when I started to become
Well,
interested in what it was all about. Then I got to high school and met my bestie, and we were really big into it then. And so we'd look up, I'd ask Mum what my birth time was and just got my chart worked out. And ever since, so I'm talking a good, decent 40 years of being interested in it. But like I said, hey, hi, ladies watching all the way from Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, gosh, what time is it there at the moment? Well, it'd be about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So where was I? Astrology. Yeah, basically for about 40 years I've been interested in it, but that's what I was saying. The math side of thing, working everything out, that never appealed to me. So 8 p.m. There you go.
There you go.
Mm.
Yes.
So a
I
long
don't think
time.
it's actually appreciated as much, because a lot of people think, oh, it's just all nonsense. It's just, it's very superficial, but there's so much more to it than what we see or get from reading your stars in the back of a newspaper or a magazine, potentially anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to have this event where people that come along can actually have their charts done and have some reading from it and have some get some understanding of how it all works.
So what time is it? Is Glenys meant to be hopping on now?
Whoa, so yes.
Okay, if you have a look, maybe you can invite her instead. If you just hit that down arrow at the top. This is women working it out for themselves, guys.
Down arrow at the top. I'm not seeing a down arrow.
Next to Women in Bloom. Next to Women in Bloom.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, click on that. You should be able to invite her. See if you can, or someone, if you know exactly, write it in the comments. Ask someone to join.
I'm not seeing where I can write. I'm not seeing a
Ask
plus
to
sign.
join. Because you're hosting it, I can't get in. Next to the women.
I've just invited her.
Oh, fantastic. So now she should be able to see that and join. Awesome. You learn something new every day, hey? Never too old.
Here she is. Hi.
Hey, Glenys.
Hello. I'm so glad that worked. You have no idea.
Fantastic.
This whole idea of the technology. It's like.
But you can work out someone's birth chart. I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
Because you've done it old school, haven't you?
Well, I did. I started training probably, I'm thinking back, it was 25 years ago. And, it was so good to have that experience and awaken the way that astrology woke me up. And then I've just loved it ever since. So every chart I do, I learn more. Every way I work with it, like I've developed lots of different ways of working with astrology. And that brings in all my other skills of healing and being able to hold space and just the knowledge that I've had over the years of doing my own inner work. So, and I love your ethos, if you like, of empowering women, because definitely 25 years ago, I was a bit of a disempowered person, or caught up in the world and life and, family and just the do, really. And to actually discover something about myself, it was like opening up a treasure chest and seeing, oh my God, there's my dolly, oh, there's my teddy bear or what have you. But they were parts of me that hadn't been expressed.
And so how did that impact your life back then? How did it help you?
Hugely so. So probably 30 years ago, I was introduced to Reiki, and that opened up a whole, different element of myself and all, how to heal and just that connection to my own self on that level. And then it was actually the same, my astrology teacher introduced me to Reiki and said, oh, have you ever tried this? And I'm like, what is it? And so she introduced me to Reiki, and I went on and did my Reiki, and then just, did my mastery and what have you, and have been working with it for 30 years. But she also was an astrology teacher. So she said she was running this little group. And once I started there, it was like I was finding pieces of myself that life had lost them in the corners somewhere. And even looking at your belief systems about yourself, like the conditioning, I have a language for it now through, lots of therapy training and stuff like that. But back then, we would look at each other's charts in the group. And so we had everybody's chart on our page. and people would be given examples. So it's like, oh, if we look at so-and-so's chart, look at their Venus, this means this, blah, blah. So at one point, Brenda said, now, if we all look at Glenys's chart and look at where Mercury is, Mercury rules the mind, and look at how it connects with, you know, et cetera, et cetera. She said, now, this shows that Glenys is highly intelligent. And I went, and it was like, because, you know, emotional issues, left home at 16. So, you know, I didn't finish year 12, as they call it here. I probably did the equivalent in New Zealand of year 10. And it's kind of like always behind the 8 ball, just surviving, which was just my story. And to be told I was intelligent and to see the proof of it, and I was believing the proof. Like I by this stage, we were learning lots about astrology, and this means that, it's Suzanne's, you know, as the saying goes. And so it's like, I just owned this intelligence somewhere.
Did it feel right? Did it actually land somehow?
Absolutely. It's like, oh my God, I've only looked at intelligence as being somebody who's academic or somebody who can, you know, rattle off all sorts of information. I didn't realize that intelligence is on so many levels. And of course, it's within your sphere. So what it did for me was make me do the best I could. So instead of just slacking off and, oh, I don't know about that and what have you, it's like I just went like duck to water to this. And I'm quite mathematical. So when all the aspects come in and they're all numbers and you've got to add numbers and subtract and see how they connect and all that, that was like, I could hold all of that information like a calculator in my head. So it's like I polished the lamp of the intelligence that I have. So it's not, I'm not more intelligent than somebody else, but it gave me something to hold on to about myself that was just lost in the do and, you know, don't get in touch with your feelings because that's not socially acceptable. Just keep doing. Until such time as my coping mechanisms couldn't hold down the pot that was bubbling.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think Reiki started that for me. So I, you know, all the energy healing and what have you. And of course I was a nurse originally. So clearly without knowing a jolly thing, I was leaning towards healing and helping, albeit on the medicinal level and the Western level and, you know, that kind of stuff. But this just opened me up to a whole new level of myself. So I just wanted to explore, who am I? And nothing is not like, oh yes, it's not like, oh, I didn't know I was that. I mean, in the sense that we squash ourselves with beliefs along the way. If we've been downtrodden or had some trauma or something like that, we create a little safe place of just being the little mouse in the corner or being whatever we choose to be. But within this process was like the women in bloom, the blooming of this chart of potentials, and again the actual beginning, I would say, of the loving of myself, of the accepting of myself. Not
gives me a
shiver.
Carol, Glenys, we all want that, and need to finding out ways to do it. It's like, and this is wow. Sorry, I just got excited there.
I'm excited too. What's your greatest joy of helping someone, Glenys?
Oh yeah.
Do you think? What
I just love it that I can have a perfect stranger pull up a piece of paper. Sorry, here's one I've prepared earlier.
I love it.
Which happens to be tonight, the new moon, which is tonight. So great day to be having this chat. And I can sit there and look at it and start talking to this person. And I think because of the years of experience, just like, you know, a master at an instrument, they start with C, D, E, F, you know, and then they have to learn timing and they have to learn which fingers to use. I'm talking here about the piano, perhaps. And then all of a sudden they get that level where you just put any sheet music in front of them and they know exactly how to do it. And they just flow with that instrument. And I think that's the benefit of time, and that brings mastery. And so along with that, all the healing work I've done and, you know, the Reiki energy, that intuitive trust of whatever comes. Oh, you've waved at me. Oh, it just came up. Sorry. From that, I seem to sit and I sit in myself. So it's like you sit with that instrument and then I look at it. And something stands out. So that'll be the first thing I talk about. I don't have to go A, B, C, D. Here's a rote, rule of thumb.
Sure.
It just, it comes alive to me. And I find these strangers, they were strangers before, at the end of, say, an hour of a session, and they've just been video or taping me, I stop there and I think, oh, hang on, was any of that relevant? Can you relate? I ask them. I mean, they can interrupt at any time.
And they're in
some people just
tears, crying, going, yes, it's me.
Well, it's like down to sort of words that I choose to use in the moment. I don't think about them. They'll say, that's what my boss said to me yesterday, or that's what something happened. And I love that. It's like you are understood. One of my trainings, I don't even know how many years ago now, was in psychosomatics and body-mind analysis. And one of the things that the teacher would say was like, that somebody understands you is so important. And that was when we were working with body patterns, and, you just touch that body pattern with your hand or what have you with love, and the person would melt. So, all of these skill sets come together. And astrology is just one of the ways. So I'm not like, you've got to do astrology. If it draws you, then if somehow that opportunity comes your way, then let it touch you, which is the way I love to run my workshops. It's not just sit here, we're going to learn a whole heap of information for 3 hours about astrology. I have interactive play that has healing components, that has energy components, that has a weaving of the astrology with the chakras, and then how to bring, a solfeggio tone into that and see that balancing for you. So I love that I get really creative when I'm teaching.
So Glenys, for women who maybe, or 40 plus women, or women who are no longer working possibly full time, or they're changing careers, or they don't have, but they're at a point in their lives where they have more opportunity to reconnect with themselves and make decisions about where they want to go, how they want to live their best life. I gather astrology is a great way for them to reconnect with who they really are.
Oh, absolutely.
And find their strengths and passions and tap into their desires that they maybe have pushed aside or denied for a long time, to really open up to their potential.
Yes. So all your talents are described in here. So I don't mean that I'll read this and say, you must be a primary school teacher. It's like, oh, you've got the skill of communication and reaching out and connecting with people. So that could be teaching, or it could be some other job. But it hones in on the actual, self-expression and the creativity, and then the actual talents in your work houses. So the houses are areas of the chart. So with that, you can define, like I've often done, or back in the day, I'd do, teenagers. Oh, I've got, year 9, I've got to choose subjects. I don't know what I want to do, So I'd have a look in their chart and I'd tell them, okay, you've actually got a leaning towards this, this, and this. And they'd go, oh, yeah, I like that. Like they didn't know that they liked it. There's expectations on them to, way above their, what age is that? Say 15 or something like that. I mean, the brains aren't even fully developed, they say, until 25. I think that might be a bit of an excuse for some people, that's what I'm thinking. But anyway.
Would you say that it could be helpful for problem solving as well? So if you've got a specific area in your life where things aren't quite, it could be relationships, or it could be money, or it could be inability to stick at a job, you could look at your chart, for example, and go, okay, what's the deal? What's the rub? What's going on here? Absolutely. Do you have people that approach you like that, looking for specific answers?
Yeah, well, so people come to me for therapy, for healing, for all sorts of different things. And often when they come and they say, oh, I've tried all these jobs, and every time I get there, the boss bullies me. Every job, it starts off great, and then the boss is really treating me terrible. I've got to leave the job again. So I have a look in their chart. Yeah. And often you'll find the authority figure, which is often represented by Saturn, will be in a hard angle to, say, their son or some part of them. So when we see that, instead of just going, hey, this is your lot, buddy, you're going to have trouble with authority. Yeah. It's like, let's find what that's trying to teach you. So all the challenges in your chart are how you live your life. They are the experiences of your life. People can come and say anything to me, I can see in their chart, that's where that is. So the purpose of astrology then, going deeper, not just the novelty of knowing a few things and a bit about the future and all that stuff, which is all good, but it actually takes it really deep to see how can you balance this pattern you've been born with. How can you make the most of it? Just like somebody who's, you know, got one leg. Okay, let's get a prosthesis. Let's not just sit there and, oh, that's my lot. We get a prosthesis, we join different sports, or we, you know, we find out how to work with that, how to build other muscles to support ourselves.
And that's so empowering. The epitome
Absolutely.
of empowering, isn't it, really?
It is.
Yeah.
And to know it, because we put everything outside of ourselves and we, you know, point the finger and it's like, look at what they did to me or it did to me or what have you. And it can victimize us. It can make us subject to external forces or even governments or what have you. So it's like even when COVID happened, I thought, well, what is my government saying to me right now? So my governing body, my mind, these ideas of what the government tried to, you know, impose upon people. It's like, so how can I make peace with my own inner government? So with these sorts of things, it's quite deep. But you have a look at how that's impacting you, where the planets are now keep impacting your chart. So know your own chart, know what challenges you've actually come in with the different aspects in your chart. Start balancing those, finding what's the gift in Saturn being square to my sun. So that's that hard taskmaster on your personality. It feels like it's limiting. There's some of the keywords for Saturn. But the other side to that is, how can I use that strength of Saturn, that determination to support my sun? So, I mean, that's only one. Often we've got multiple aspects. So there's multiple layers to who we are. We're not just a simplistic, you know, a very simple little creature on the planet. And so from this point, you know, I bring therapy into it, or I bring healing, whatever way you want to call that. So people become aware of the feeling state of their life in themselves, not the story outside, which you can do nothing about, a boss who's a bully, but you can change the attitude in you so you don't cringe around them and adjust your way of being. You stay being who you are. If it isn't the right environment.
Oh,
Have we lost Glenys's sound?
yes, we've lost the sound.
Okay, Glenys, we can't hear you, darling. We can't hear you. I don't think she can hear us. Okay, can she hop off? Can you pop her off and then put her back on?
How do I do that? Oh, she's off. You back?
I'm here.
Are
you there?
It's dodgy.
Yeah. Okay, it's just
internet connection.
Okay.
Oh, have you lost me?
You're back.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah.
We lost your voice for a minute there.
Well, there was a phone call coming through, so I said go away, but maybe it just took a moment to go away.
Oh, love your work.
Glenys, this is it's astrology offers us far more than I realized, and it's so exciting that you're giving the women the opportunity to come and learn how to have this increased self-awareness and self-understanding.
Yes. What does that day look like? What can we expect?
So I love putting like feeling body processes in amongst the information so that you feel what we're talking about. So it's real. It's not just in your head. Oh, I learned that my sun sign is in Aries and I've got these positives and these negatives and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So there'll be this interconnectedness that you'll see that with every human being on the planet, somewhere in your chart and somewhere in their chart, you align. So there'll be processes whereby we feel the energy of the cosmos. So we'll do a meditation type experience. And with that, you'll actually feel that energy flowing through you and flowing around the circle and coming back. And then you'll go, like, I'll get everybody in their star signs. So out of the group, there'll be half a dozen strangers here and half a dozen people who don't know each other there. And what you've got in common, is you're all Tauruses or you're all Sagittariuses.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll move you to your element, if you're fire, earth, air, or water. So again, there'll be a shuffle of people, and you'll get different people in those places. So there's all of these, there's more than that. But, you know, these are some of the things that I'll be doing so that we're embodying. I'll talk first about astrology in your chart. So you're looking at this, you know, thing, and you won't know, well, what's that mean? So I will explain the circles outside the numbers and a couple of things like that. We keep it basic. I'm going to let you explore in a bit more detail and with fellow human beings of that, your sun sign and your moon. And then I'm going to give you, just because I'm not sure of timing, how long we'll all take to do these little processes, but I'm going to give you your ascendant information. So then again, we'll go and get all the ascendants together. So this is the face you show the world, as opposed to your personality or your moon, which is your inner world. So then we'll see, you're probably going to touch everybody in the room at some point or other, or connect with them through these different, you know, get you up and get your body involved. So you're not just sitting there learning something and your head shuts off, and then, you know, you get a phone call and you think, oh, I've got to get back to Johnny in the break, and, you know, so that you're actually present. And what I find is the moment everybody gets their chart, it's all about them. And it can be all about them and them and them and them within a group of being all about us. So that's this whole Aquarian time that we're in too.
Yes.
So that being with the whole and yet being individual within the whole.
I love that.
Let's be our best selves, you know.
Can you see, do you do readings for, how can I put this? Okay, so we're in a really pivotal moment in time right now, globally.
Yep.
Can you do an astrological reading for countries or for events or something in, like that?
Absolutely. I've actually drawn up the chart for 9:45 and the chart for 2:00 on the day. If we run two, we may only run one, but depending on how that all unfolds. So, and that's an event. So that's telling me the flavour of the day. That's just that event. But if I have the details for the country, then you just pull up a chart as if it's a person, but it's the country, and it'll tell you, you know, all the different things and what areas are being triggered at this point in time. So yes,
have you done any for this year?
Sorry?
Have you done any for this year?
I'm actually just doing it all the time. I'm not particularly going to countries unless somebody asks me to.
Sure.
It sounds like government should be doing this. Government should be doing readings. Is this the right time to make this decision or this change or this?
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised that some people in the know actually have astrologers. Like a lot of the royal family have had them. A lot of people, you know, these billionaires and what have you, they do actually. You don't hear them.
Nancy Reagan had an astrologer.
Yeah. So I think if you looked deeper, I mean, they don't tell you all of those things, but a lot of things are done on very auspicious dates. And with that kind of timing and all the rest of it, you can rest assured that they've looked at the numerology or the astrology or both, and they've got that. Like back in the day, they would go to the wise woman or man, the sage, the seer. You know, I'm talking about Henry VIII or whoever. You know, they had seers. If they didn't like the message, they killed them half the time. But you know, back in those days, but they would go to the oracle to ask, and so we're actually no different. We're just a bit more modernized, you know. Yeah.
Oh, I just find the whole thing fascinating, and I could keep talking about this for hours and hours and hours. But how are we going for time? Yeah, we're almost there. So that went quickly.
But I want to help anyone who's joined us and people who watch this later. This is a great opportunity for women who, like yourself, who maybe have lived with limiting beliefs or have lost their confidence or don't have a great self-esteem for whatever reason. And we don't need to know why, but if women who aren't feeling good about themselves, it's an opportunity for them to get some insight into who they really are, rather than all this stuff that they've taken on from the outside world. And it's actually, it's essentially an opportunity to be liberated, to be reconnected and with their truth, who they are, and empowered because of that knowing, that knowledge. It's a really, really valuable opportunity, I think. The more I hear about it for women.
That and the fact that I call them play shops instead of workshops, because if you're sitting with a few people and you've all got the same negative traits, so when I say negative, it's just the challenging parts, like when we're stressed, we get to fight, or we get to, you know, sulk, or get to whatever is in our thing. And you can have a laugh. It's like, oh no, I would never like that. And people have a bit of a joke about it, because they know jolly well that when they're under stress, they will go to that place and get snappy or get moody or get whatever.
So it normalizes things, and you see the lightness of it rather than the darkness.
And then it's
beat yourself up over it.
Sorry. It's looking to evolve that. So I'm a Taurus, and go the Bulls, because I think they're pretty cool. So, you know, the old thing, oh, Taurus is a stubborn. So it's like, don't make it an excuse. I'm not just stubborn, and I might have been very stubborn back in the day and dug my heels in, and I've got shoes to prove it, because even on the physiological level, if you look at my shoes, they'll wear down on the heels. So this is how it comes into the body as well. But with that, it's like I've learned to be determined and use that so-called stubbornness with greater awareness, to use that energy to be strong and determined and finish the course, as opposed to just, no, I'm not going anywhere, digging my heels in, and I'm not listening to you. It's like, it's helped to open the mind. It's helped to follow through with a training or something, go deeper within it. So these are the levels of awareness that, and it's a chart of potentials. You can stay at a base level with it all your life, and that's absolutely fine. Or you can move to much higher versions of it.
One of my oldest and dearest friend is Taurine, and she can be incredibly stubborn, but she's the most loyal, big-hearted, amazing woman I know. So, and her stubbornness has been her strength in different times.
Well, like they say, your strengths become your weaknesses if there's too much of them, and your weaknesses become your strengths because you try and work on them. But everything is that scale, and that's what we're about, balancing the scales. And as the planets continue to evolve, revolve around us, each time they're bringing different energies to different parts of our charts, awakening that area. Like, it's time now for this. It's like, oh my God, it's like technology for me. Everything that's happening with Pluto, which is a big planet of transformation, is in my third house of communication. It's in Aquarius, which is technology. And I've gone, oh no, technology. And now look at me. I mean, much as I had to have Caroline walk me through yesterday to have a little practice, it's like, I'm like, oh, I don't.
Good.
Here you are.
But
here you are. Cider Coffee has just said, I've read lots on astrology because I've always been interested. I think it's because I'm a Gemini. As a Saggy, you're my opposing sign, and we get on like a house on fire, or we'll be enemies.
Yeah.
But I think I would like you very much. Isn't that funny how opposing star signs can do that? They can tend to butt heads sometimes.
Yep. And be very different qualities, and yet they're there to balance. So Pisces and Virgo are opposites. So Virgo, here's your boundaries, here's your cross your T's, dot the I's, get it all in your head, get it all done. And then Pisces, I just like being in the sky, and in that voice too. And it's like, but Pisces don't just keep believing everything and having, rose-colored glasses. Without the structure, you don't achieve anything. But together, they do.
I think astrology should be a part of marriage counselling, relationship counselling, because it would be.
There's a point.
It would be so helpful.
Many people have come with their, personal problems or what have you, and I've just taken it back into their chart to have a look at their part within that dynamic. And then if the both of them come, which I've had, have a look at what's, and it becomes real. It's like, oh yes, that is me. And oh yes, that is me. And then it's like, okay, if I improve myself and you improve yourself, oh my God, you don't have to change and me battering you to get more emotional to the man and the man saying, leave me alone, you know, I want to go in the cave. It's like you can, oh, that's my growth. For me personally, is to come out of the cave, use it only when required, and communicate to my partner, I just need a bit of time in the cave, but I'll come out. And for her to not, you know, I want my needs met. So between the two of them, it's like, oh, we open the channels of communication, understanding each other better, but owning our own part in it. So that's the beauty of, and even in relationships, you get the two charts and you put them together and you create a new chart. So you get, you get the midpoint of everything. So your son, his son, or the other person's son, I should say, and you go to the midpoint. So at the midpoint, the relationship projects that, not that. Like you're still your individual, but the relationship itself, like, you know, if you know couples, you think they're so lovely to be together, you know, to go and visit at their place. They put on a great barbie. Individually, she talks deep. He's all about the car, you know, but, you know, when we get together, they work really well and it's harmonious at their house. So that's the relationship chart. So the charts can go everywhere. The year ahead chart, the personal chart, walking your life so that you birth yourself in the chart and heal the parts of you that you're scared about.
Wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Glenys. Thank you for sharing your...
If you want to come along, please go to womeninbloom.com.au. If you're in the Logan area, you can even come up from the Gold Coast or down from Brizzy. It's at the Wellwood Health. Saturday. I'm not making a very good job of this, am I? I'll start again. Saturday, the 8th of February at Wellwood Health. We're having 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So depending on what you're doing that day, we would love you to come along. You get your own chart, you get your own workbook, and you get to find out all about yourself. How good is that?
Yeah. Anyway,
brilliant.
Hopefully we'll see you there.
Oh, yes, you will see me there. For sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you,
Thank
Glenys.
you so much, Glenys.
It's been
We'll see you soon. Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.
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 Bye.